Guys, really straightforward maintenance video for you here. I realized I've never really filmed this before. Just going to be changing the pads on the front of an 8-lug 2500 class gasoline vehicle, or any vehicle with a 6.5 liter diesel from the mid to late 90s, Chevrolet or GMC. So the way you usually know it's time to do this, I'll show you this. You know, you have to wait this long, but I usually wait this long to get the most money out of the pads, is there's a wear indicator. I use the trailing edge of the pad, and when it starts getting to wear, when you press the brakes, you hear a squeaking or a squealing noise. It's this little guy rubbing on the rotor, and that's usually the clue. It's time to do this procedure. So we're going to walk through this as fast as we can. I got the wheel off already. First tool I'm going to need is a 9mm hex head, also called an Allen wrench. And in the back of the caliper, there are 2 bolts. And we're going to loosen these 2 bolts. Of course, you don't have to do it manually if you got the tool to do it in an automated way, but the first one's right up on top here. Just like to get them started, then I can put the ball end in there and go a little bit faster. So these bolts go through the caliper and into the spindle housing right here. So to get them out enough so that we can peel them off. And then the one on the bottom is down here. We should have these 2 rubber boots on too, by the way. When we put the pad kit on, we'll get new ones, but it's always a good idea to make sure that the ones that are on here haven't fallen off. I don't like how he's squeaking as he comes out. That's all kind of odd. I'm going to take this one out all the way, and I'll do the other one after we pause the video, but just to let you see, when it's out all the way, the pin, we call this the pin, should be sticking a little bit more than 1/4 inch out of the bolt. I mean, out of the boot. They're not going to come out all the way. You don't want them to come out all the way. You just want to be unthreaded so that we can remove the caliper. It's going to take me a little while to do that on the front one because I don't have the same clearance. I'm going to pause the video a sec, and we'll come up when I get this guy all the way out. And then, you know, sometimes you can work it off with just your hand. So I just take a little rubber mallet and give it a little persuasion, because it can get rusted on here pretty tight. But eventually, it'll work its way off. Okay. All right, and then you can take this guy. Just kind of make sure you don't twist the hose. You're going to kind of give it a curl so there's no kinks or anything in the hose. You don't want to do any damage to this, because this is really an outer hose and an inner hose. And if the inner hose collapses, you're going to end up with brake pulling or something like that. All right, so I'm going to take the inside pad off, and then we're going to take the outside pad off. Might have to get a screwdriver. Might be able to do with this other tool I brought out here. There you go. Just need something to prise these little retaining springs off the edge. So yeah, you can kind of see, use this tool here. Kind of see we're at a point where when this pad gets down to this point, this little piece of soft steel alloy starts rubbing on the rotor. It won't cut into it or anything, but it'll make a lot of squeaking noise to get your attention. Okay, so that's it for this piece. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a caliper tool like this, and we're going to open up the brake caliper piston, push it in. And this is a good opportunity while you got this out to take a look at the boot. Make sure you don't have any tears all around the side of the boot, because that could be an indication that you either need to put a new boot kit on here, or if you don't want to do that, change out the whole caliper. The other thing I like to do is, while I got this, is just take a look at the hose, make sure everything looks good, since I'm already under here. All right. The way I like to do this compression, and by the way, you also want to pay attention to the amount of brake fluid that you've got, because when we do this, we're going to push fluid back. I'm actually going to put this back in for a sec. Put it back in straight. So these happy. There he goes. Okay. As I'm going to use him to hold my tool. You can pick up something like this at Harbor Freight. It's not anything that's expensive. But what it lets you do, you get this, you can push this piston in. Just a few turns at a time, kind of slow, like I said, because what it's doing is pushing the brake fluid out of the cylinder of the caliper and back into the master cylinder. Just going to go slow. Make sure that you've checked your master cylinder so this isn't going to overflow anything, which I did beforehand. You just want to get them fully compressed, because when we put the new pads in there, we're going to need all the clearance we can get to get them back on the rotor. Let that sit for a second. Turn it again. Just keep going nice and slow until we get them all the way bottomed out. You can see as he goes in, the boot compresses. And he's going to get to a certain point where you're not going to be able to turn him anymore. And you're done. Then I'm going to leave that on there. And then I'm going to push these pins out next. Just come all the way out. These you keep unless they're corroded or badly damaged. Alright, so next thing I do is I take a look at these and see if I have that problem. I don't. On this one, this guy looks good. And this guy looks nice and good. And the other thing you want to do is make sure there's no resistance to moving around of the little captive piece on the bolt. Okay, so we'll clean those up and we'll reuse them. Next thing we'll do is open up the kit. We're going to be replacing the lubricant, and we're going to be replacing some seals, and all that comes in the kit. So the kit we're going to use for this particular model vehicle, like I said, this is a 3/4 ton 98 Chevrolet Cheyenne, but it'd be the same if it was a Suburban, anything 6.5 liter, even a half ton with 6.5 liter is going to take this. Part number 19152-634 is the GM, and you can see the Delco number is 171-598. Get in one of these ACDelco kits. 2 pairs of shoes, excuse me, 2 pairs of pads rather, and you get a kit with replacement seals, replacement boots that go around the pins, and a little container of silicone lubricant. In my experience, this is never enough to get both sides done, so I also use some of this Permatex Ultra brake caliper lube as well to put down on this. So what I like to do, get situated here. Actually, I got some dirt and debris on my little shop towel here. I like to get this guy down on the ground and get him all nice and cleaned up. I'm just going to wipe him off. Like I said, there's no corrosion here, so I don't have to get any emery cloth or anything like that. I'm just trying to get all the old lubricant off of the surface so that I can re-lube it up. Same thing with this one. Since it's not really bad, you know, if it had been all caked on, I might use some brake cleaner or something like that to loosen it up, but I don't think I need that here because it hasn't been that long since this was done before. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a dental pick. I'm going to go back up to the caliper. What I'm going to do with the dental pick is I'm going to get inside here, right inside in a groove. Can't really show you and be able to see at the same time, but you'll be able to feel it. One of these sits. We're going to take this guy out. It's just me knocking over the box and the brake lube. And then there's going to be one on this side. Same place. And these little picks are real handy for this kind of stuff. There's that one. And then on the top, to take this boot off. I might have to go get a screwdriver to get that off. I didn't bring one out here. Yeah, let me do that. Let me pause this for a second and go grab a little flathead screwdriver to prise these boots. Sorry about that interruption. All right, so I got my little stubby flathead that I use to prise the pin boots off. They just come off just like that. It's actually a good sign if they're on nice and tight. And then we're going to take our dental pick and do the same thing we did in the back. There's a little seal sitting in a groove here on the front. There's that one. And then there's one more on the other side. There's 4 total, 2 on each side. And like I said, as you hold the caliper, just make sure you keep in the hose from getting kinked. I sometimes like to bungee it up, but since I'm doing the video, I'm just going to keep holding on to it. All right, the last thing we got to take off, I'm going to brace him right against the top of the rotor here. Is we're going to take our flathead and we're going to take this rear seal out. There's one. And then there's like 2 here. I'm trying to get the lip of it. There it is. Okay. All right, so we got the old parts off. Almost ready to go and put it all back together. I just like to then take a blue paper towel, kind of roll him up, get him inside here. Just kind of clean out the old heated up lubricant before we put the new in. Okay, so one side done. Take the clean end of the paper towel and do the same thing on the other side. Done. Okay. All right. Now we're going to put the new stuff in. So let me get the parts for one side. Obviously in the box, the bag here, there's enough for both sides. So we're going to get ourselves out 2 boots, 2 seals, the lubricant that they include. My 4th seal here, and the rest we'll put back in the box for the other side. And we'll take out pads, 1 inner pad. Set these on a separate little paper towel. I want to get them away from anything that we're working on lubrication with. And then I'm going to want to get the pad here with the trailing piece. The other one goes on the other side. Okay. Set that. We're going to take this little guy. It should be pre-torn for you. If not, you can get a pair of scissors or something. And like I said, they don't give you a lot at all. So first thing I do is I try to get the front seals in. So put a little bit of this silicone brake lube on here. Just get it all nice and lubricated around. And then I'm going to push it into the front. I'm going to put my pinky in the back. I'm going to put my other pinky in the front. And I'm going to push until I get it to snap in to the grooves. And make sure my finger goes in and out just fine. I'll do the same thing on the other side. And again, I'm trying to go as fast as I can here, show you this is a really straightforward job. Of course, you got a little jet aircraft going overhead. I'm going to interrupt my sound here for a minute. Periodic interruption. All right, now we're going to do the same exact thing with the 2 seals in the rear. Just get them all looped up, slide them in, put your finky in through the front. And put your other pinky in through the back so that you can feel it. This one's kind of stuck on me for a second. There we go. again, you know, you can feel it when it snaps in, but you just also want to make sure it's nice and well seated in there. All right, last one. On the top piece, same deal. Gonna give them a squeeze in. I haven't done it yet, but if you drop one of these guys, make sure you clean it off really good, right? Because the enemy of this whole setup is sand. Sand you do not want in here. All right. Guys in. Okay, now the next thing we're going to pop in are these rear seals. So as you look at them, they basically are the same. There's no particular way they go in. I'm going to put some lubricant around the outer edge so that we can get it to slide in. This one you just kind of get it started with your fingers, and then we're going to have to tap it in with a little hammer. In fact, what I might do here is I might set this back down. Let's go ahead and get our caliper press out of the way. I think this guy's done. Try to give him a little bit more squeeze. No. He's got a little bit more to go. Now he's done. All right, take him out. Take him out, so get out of my way. Go back to what I was doing with this guy. This is probably the hardest piece of the whole job, in my opinion. This is a really tight fit. There's probably a better way to do this, but this is how I've usually done it. Although I have not usually had the camera in my way. There he goes. Come on, get in there. Well, guys, I don't know why this guy's giving me so much trouble. We were on a roll there for a minute. Everything was going nice and smooth. There he goes, finally. Jeez. He just didn't want to go in there. All right. This is usually where I end up. I get it in with my finger, and then I just take a small mallet and just make sure it's seated flush. I don't know why that one was so hard to get in, but once you tighten everything up with the pins, they'll get pushed and seated once you do that, so it's not like you have to worry about it too much. All right, do the last one here. Same deal. See, that one just went right in. Interesting. Maybe the piece was a little bit off, extra rubber or something on it from the factory. All right, now we got all those guys in. Now at this point, like I said, normally I'd bungee this guy up, but I think he will sit there while I do the next step, which is I'm going to take the pins, take the Permatex lube. I'm going to put some Permatex lube right around the neck of the pin. Just for this piece here that has movement, and then right around the base for the same reason, right? So there's movement on these pieces, and then I'm going to use the GM material all around the outside, what's left of it. It's like I was saying, right? So here we are. We've only done one side, and we just are almost out of this stuff. And just to kind of get a little bit more, I use this stuff. Because this needs to move. That's the whole deal with this. This needs to move. All right. This guy goes all the way in, and you kind of hold it till you see it come out the other side, right here, and then you push this pin on the other side, back in past the seal, and you're ready to bolt it up. Now we're going to do the same thing with this one, and we're ready to put it back on. There's another jet. These guys are on a roll today. Usually I can sit out here and nothing happens, come out here and do a video, and we got like a whole Grand Central Airport thing going on here. Alright, same kind of thing. I'm going to push him through. Not too far, like I say, get this pin cylinder right under the seal. So when you look at the seal, right, you don't want to see anything but the threads sticking out. Okay, if you've done that, you got it in the right spot. All right, last thing. Now, I'm going to take and rub off any lubricant that I might have got around where the boot sits. And in fact, I'm going to put a little bit of brake cleaner on here. Otherwise, it won't stay on. Same thing over here. Just around the lip rather, that this guy's going to sit, and then I'm going to put him on like this. And then what I like to do is I take like a 21mm socket and just tap him in place. That's one. Here's the second one. Same deal. Got it. All right. Now, make sure I got no grease on my hands, my gloves rather. So I do not want to get anything on our new shoes. Okay, so we're going to push the inside one in first, and then we're going to push the outside in. So I'm going to use a tool so I can get these little springs to snap over the outside of the caliper and get in their little resting place. There we go. All right, and that's it. Fold it around back, so again, so making sure you have no kinks. Just kind of might have to pull on the pins and get the threads back a little bit out of your way. Push that one out a little bit, and I'm going to push this one. Again, what I'm doing is I'm pushing those threads that you had sticking out just a little bit until I can get it seated. There we go. All right, and the last thing we're going to do now is we are going to tighten this up. I can find what I do with the tool. There it is. There he goes. I won't tighten him up all the way. I just want to get him in just so he's seated enough where I can do the bottom. I know this guy is not going to move on me. All right, now, same deal on the bottom. Might even be able to, there you go. So sometimes you have to like move the caliper around so you can feel the threads of the pin line up. It also helps to remember righty tighty, lefty loosey. All right, got this guy going in too. Now I don't do a particular torque on these. I like just getting them nice and snug, hand tight. I'm sure there is a torque on it, but invariably they'll get dried up from heat and rust, and you won't be able to get them off easily. All right, so that guy is where I like him. Just like put enough force to where I feel like it's not going to come off. It's not going to be impossible to get off. Same thing for the bottom. And we are going to be done. And I'm going to move on and do the other side. It's going to be the same kind of deal, so I'm not going to film that. We're doing the passenger side right now, of course. All right, check my hose, make sure no kinks, no damage. Make sure I got my bleed cover on here. It's always another good maintenance item to check. And the last thing that I'm going to do, just like to put a little bit of this lube where the ear of the inner pad is going to rub on the caliper. A little bit on the inside too. Just when they're new, they sometimes squeak a little bit. Don't want to get any of this on the brake pad or rotor, just on the cast iron of the caliper where this guy would rub a little bit. And that's it. We're done. Hope this helped you out. If you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe. Thanks.